Welcome to the talk show. So most of the faculty members who join do not require introduction to Venkat. I don't know who I'm introducing Venkatesh Padagiri to. Everybody knows him. He has worked with us from 2010 to 2015, and this is 2025 years have passed, Venki. And since you left,
T-shirt
he,
is ready.
yeah, yeah, he is the quintessential Swave Jipmarite you can find anywhere. So he finished his MBBS in 1999, and he's a Jitmarite who many Jitmarites of his time looked up to for his public speaking skills, friendliness that crosses age barriers and gender barriers, of course, and for many more such qualities. So he is currently professor of neurosurgery at NIMHANS, Bangalore. He has a specific interest in the field of neuro-oncology and vascular neurosurgery. He did a fellowship with Anil Nanda, another famous Jigmarite gifted speaker and accomplished surgeon at the US, Shreveport, Louisiana, where he was here. When he joined JIPMA as a faculty in 2010, we were still a very young 4-year-old department. We were also much smaller, perhaps more agile and more hungry. Venki and I spent more time in the canteens, drinking countless cups of sugary tea than at the department, and we discussed so many things under the sun and so many conferences we attended drinking tea. We discussed many things under the sun, and eventually he wrote up some of the stuff in scientific articles and published in good journals. And that, by the way, is one of his special skills, to write up scientific articles, partly because of his exceptional language skills. This allowed him to express ideas lucidly in words. Maybe during your talk, you would explain how, whether it is an inborn ability or whether you nurtured it. That's for later. But I knew Venki from the time we did residency at NIMHANS, Bangalore. We had so much fun there too. What I would not do right now is to take up more time describing his personality when he's right there before us. So go ahead. The virtual stage is yours, as it has always been. So the stage is yours. Take over.
Thanks, GK. Uh, Anjuman, do you want to say anything or should I jump in? Can't hear, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. No, sir, take it away. It's all yours.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So this is an honor. It's a pleasure to be back here virtually, of course, but it's always a pleasure to be back at gatherings that involve JIPMerites and JIPMA faculty, former JIPMA faculty. So quite a few of my teachers are here, and I'm very grateful and touched that they would log on. And many of my batchmates are here. I'm really happy to see them, and I hope they don't drag me. And some of my juniors and seniors also, and we had very fierce batch rivalries. So I hope they're not going to remember that after all these years. So I'm very happy and very grateful that so many people have logged on. So let me just tell you what thought I should tell you today. So this was supposed to be a freewheeling talk. I decided not to make slides, not to show pictures, because I want to keep it as far as possible 20 minutes. And there are just 2 or 3 things maybe, or maybe 3 or 4 things that I just want to say. The first, of course, for all Jipmerites is about the Jipmer experience. And that is something which all of you are going through. Many of us have gone through, and some of you are midway, some of you have just started. And, you know, so I left Jipmer in 2001. So it's been nearly 20 years. And I can tell you one thing, you know, after 20 years have elapsed, GK may or may not agree because he's still there. But what I can tell you is that that's an experience in many ways like no other. So it shapes you. It shapes you in ways that you don't think it shapes you. And it's a very important experience. And let me just briefly tell you why it's so important. So for many of us, of course, now we have the NEET, and that's the only portal of entry to all entrance exams. In some way, I'm saddened by that because the JIPMER exam was always a quirky exam, and it always had its peculiarities and peculiar points, which basically meant that it was skewed to taking a particular set of students which would fit its ethos. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So getting into JIPMER was always difficult as for undergraduation, also for post-graduation. And once you got in, you found yourself in a place where you were no longer the top gun. Most of us were used to dominating in our schools, and we were the best. We were the pets of all the teachers, and you were considered the creme de la creme, and you were pampered and given special attention. And then suddenly you get here and the slate is absolutely blank. No one knows jack about you. You're just another face in the crowd. When we were there, it was a smallish crowd. It was only around 70 people. Now it's grown huge, which means it's an actual crowd and you're just a face in the crowd. And what sets you apart at the end of your stay in JIPMER or even during your stay in JIPMER is entirely what you make of your stay there. So, I mean, I'm sure your PSM professors have taught you that concept of GIGO. You throw garbage in and you get garbage out. Contrary to this, you throw in some very nice stuff. You put in things like, you know, effort, interest, and you look around you and be aware and react and respond to things, and the rewards are equal. And I think I'm a little biased, but I don't think any place has so much to offer across all domains of one's life as JIPMER does. And JIPMER is always where I feel is the best place to study. So what exactly do I mean by that? So I just said put in effort. So what do you mean by putting in effort? Because I must declare I don't know if I should use the word proudly, but I must proudly declare, because I didn't get a single prize throughout my entire stay in JIPMER. I'm talking about academics. And I hope my teachers don't remember that, but I would classify my academic career as unremarkable if I had to use a single word for it. That doesn't mean that I flunked my way through. Of course not. I made sure that I attended enough classes or more than enough classes to not get into trouble. I made sure my performance was well above par. But I had decided very early on when I met my seniors and juniors that there's a lot more to this place and I want to experience every aspect of it. And I think I managed to do a bit of that when I was there. And this is, mind you, very important. That's what I feel, because I feel an all-round development is something that's very important. And what am I trying to say when I say all-round development? I'll give you an example from my own life. So I was brought up in a very orthodox household. My parents are very religious. They still are to this day. And so all I knew was the orthodox religion that I was brought up with. And then you come to JIPMER, and then it's in Pondicherry. And Pondicherry is not just a tourist spot for, you know, hydration therapy and the beaches. It's also a spiritual tourism spot for many people because of the Aurobindo ashram there. And I think very early on, I got drawn towards the Aurobindo ashram, and I started reading about what the mother had said and what in fact, you know, I was drawn to all his writings when I went to the ashram first. I don't know how many of you have visited. I'm sure some of you have. On his samadhi, there is a paragraph which the mother has written after he passed away. I don't remember all of it, but it was something like, to him who has attempted all, accomplished all, achieved all, traveled all, suffered all, etc., etc. To him we offer our infinite gratitude. And that was something that really drew me to it. And so I started reading more about Aurobindo, and that led more to philosophy. And then we actually had Dr. Zakir Naik give a lecture in our community hall once. And so they distributed Qurans there. So I'm the proud owner of a free copy of a Quran. And then I have also a Bible with me, which was gifted by Queen Victoria to one of my ancestors who studied law in the UK. So I really dive deep into all of that. Let's not go in depth into that journey, but I'm saying that these aspects of one's character development are also very, very important. And JIPMER gives you the time and the scope to explore both of these. And my journey in this particular domain was very long and very tortuous. And I think GK can tell you where it ended. I probably will not specify where it ended, but please keep in mind that there are more ways to grow than just stopping the class and acing your class when it comes to academics. So personal growth is as important as professional and academic growth. And the other thing that JIPMER gave us, which was amazing, was back then, I mean, I cannot obviously talk about the milieu now, but back then was the one-to-one interaction that we had with our teachers. Our teachers knew everyone. If you were away from a class 3 consecutive times, you would get a message. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Because we were just 70, and then, you know, people would keep flunking out every year. When we started internship, we were a batch of 45 people, I think, if I'm not mistaken. My batchmates can correct me. But that interaction of one-to-one interaction was something amazing. I mean, I still remember we had a professor and head of pediatrics called Dr. Srinivasan. His wife, Dr. Renuka, was a pretty interesting cook. I mean, she was very enthusiastic and would make a lot of experimental stuff, which were very tasty. And we would get invited as a bunch of us to their house every Diwali, literally every Diwali for Diwali dinner. And there would be a bunch of 15 or 20 of us literally on a rampage in the house. And while most of us were concentrating on the chart, one of my other more savvy classmates was concentrating on other things. And I'm happy to report that he's very happily married to Chinu's daughter, Dr. Srinivasan's daughter. They're both in the US. So it led to all kinds of things, you know, and so that kind of one-to-one interaction, we would always be at his house. So every time there was a Carnatic classical music concert, the routine was set. I would get a call from Dr. Srinivasan, go to his house for tea, we would go to the concert, come back and do dinner. I don't know if that happens anymore. We were also very close to our staff advisors. You still have JSA, you still have a staff advisor. So the year when I was the cult sec, Dr. Geeta Rajagopalan was the staff advisor. She was a professor of obs and gynae. She very sadly passed away far too early. And she was a very colorful personality. We used to have a lot of fun. I remember once I went to her room to talk about something. And this is, so please pardon me for the unparliamentary bits. I'm trying to be as candid as is possibly permissible here. So I went to her room once to discuss something with her, and there was somebody in her room. So I kind of just peeped in and I was standing outside the door. And then 2 minutes later, she calls me in, and then I'm standing by the door and she says, Venkatesh, sit down. You're still a student. Okay, all this fawning respect you can give me once you become a PG. You'll have to lick my ... then anyway. You don't need to do all that now. And I was taken aback. Like I said, she was a really colorful personality, and we had carte blanche on her time. We could disturb her anytime. I remember I suddenly needed some checks signed by the staff advisor, and it was an emergency. So I called her up and woke her up at 11 in the night, and she said, it's fine. It's an emergency. Come over to my house. I'll sign it. And she actually came out of her house and called me and signed it, and then gave me some biscuits and then sent me on my way. Driving with Dr. Jia was an adventure. So she was shocked, and I'm not trying to body shame or anything. She was like literally shocked, and she would drive a car and she had to peer over the steering wheel like that to look at the road, and driving with her was, good God, such a colorful experience. Anyone coming in her way, get out of my way. And that running commentary would continue till you reached your destination. And by then I think I would have gotten half the gray hairs that I have. So we had very colorful teachers like that. I mean, there are many things that you can't forget. So the teachers back then had time to be relaxed, leisurely, as well as, you know, more one-to-one. I remember my microbiology viva. For the curse that my name begins with a V, my turn in the micro part 2 viva came at nearly 6:30 in the evening. And I think my face must have shown it when I went and sat down before the examiners, how exhausted I was. And Dr. Reba, who's Dr. Badrinath's wife, she was one of, they're all retired. These are all great people. These are the people who made JIPMER what it is. She's now retired, but she was my internal. And Dr. Reba saw my face and she said, no, Venkatesh, sit down. Why don't you have a glass of water? So I said, thank you very much, ma'am. And I took that glass of cold water and I was sipping it. And then she said, so, you know, you're drinking this water. Do you think you could tell me what possible microbial contaminants can be there in the water? And that's how it started. I was like, oh my goodness, I just wish I hadn't taken this water. It would have been so much easier if she had just asked me, okay, tell me about listeria or tell me about staph or something. Needless to say, the viva didn't go well, but it's all in the game. You know, it's all in the game. There were some not so savory experiences also. For instance, there were some vivas where we had to carry a copy of a certain author's textbook like this into the viva to make sure that the textbook was there with us. All my batchmates will know whose viva I'm talking about. So we had mostly very good teachers, and that is something you should aim for. So when there are 150 or 200 students, it becomes difficult for your teachers to know who are the people they should focus on, who needs more help, and who wants more attention. That is something you should take upon yourselves to do. It's not like it was. So when you need help, you need to approach them and make sure you get the attention that you need from them, because they're always there. And that is something that's different about JIPMER. Your faculty members still come and take classes. It's not like in AIIMS where most of the classes are left to the senior residents. You actually see your professors, and not for the first time in your exam viva like it is in All India Institute. I'm talking about Delhi. Dr. Geetanjali is here, no offense. I'm pretty sure it's very different in Bhubaneswar and the other AIIMS. But in AIIMS Delhi, that's how it was. You would see your big professors for the first time in the exams, and they would be scary as hell. It was never like that in JIPMER. We would have the senior most professors come and take classes for us. Right now, of course, that may or may not be possible, but I'm sure if you approach them, they will always give you the attention that you want. Okay. And so it's up to you to make the most that you can of the JIPMER experience. And that's the first thing I want to say. Don't think it's only about studies. It's about an entire all-round development of your personality, be it sports, be it public speaking or whatever. So I'll jump tracks and tell you about the time since I left JIPMER. So I left JIPMER in 2015, and that's something that I've regretted ever since, in a way. but I'm also happy that I did. I wouldn't have it in any other way, because I left JIPMER and went to Stanford. And that, I should tell you, was an eye-opener for me, because you probably, unless you've been to a place like that, you probably would not imagine that a place can work so differently. So it's about the differences. It's about the differences in the way people work. And that is something that I brought back from Stanford. We cannot compare with a university like that, because the amount of money they have is enormous. It's almost limitless resources. And that's not the same in JIPMER. But there's also a difference in the way people work there. It's not that because they have money, they squander it away. They have money and they think very carefully about how to use it. And there's something called a process optimization. So every single process which is carried out there is optimized for the maximum throughput, is optimized for the least time, and is optimized, believe it or not, for the least money. And that is something very important that we will not see unless we go to a place like that. And this is, of course, besides the fantastic academic environment that we had in Stanford. My wife was also with me in Stanford, and there was this cafeteria which was on the 4th floor of a building. We would go there because the view was awesome, and we would have, I'm coffee and tea addict, GK, you must have come to know that from what GK said. So we would go there as soon as I finished my OR cases and sit there and have tea. And a few months in, I realized that there was this gentleman who would come in and, have his mug with him and collect tea and go every day. And it was much later that I realized that this gentleman was a Nobel Prize winner. And he'd won the Nobel Prize for his work on ribosomes. And he would just come to the same cafeteria that we went to, and he would bring a student or two along. I had another experience. I think I'd finished an OR case very late in the night. It was, I think, somewhere around 1 a.m. And I was taking the Stanford shuttle back to my place. And a lady came and sat behind me, opposite me on the other side of the aisle in the bus. And by then she was already famous. I don't know how many of you have heard of her, but she was Mariam Mirzakhani, Dr. Mariam Mirzakhani, who won the Fields Medal for mathematics. Very sadly, she passed away 2 years after that of breast cancer. So the campus was littered with such people. And when you had people like that, it was very easy to be inspired. Okay, so that is something which I want to tell all of you. Seek out excellence. Okay, it's very easy. And I used to do this when I was in JIPMER. GK can vouch for that. I used to whine a lot, saying that, we don't have this, we don't have that, this person isn't here, that person isn't there, this equipment isn't here, that equipment isn't there. So what I've realized is excellence is not just about the money or the equipment, it's also about a state of mind. And there are people who are excellent no matter where they are. And if you link up with them, you can do very interesting and very awesome work no matter where you are. A very good example that I can give you is Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. I worked there after I came back. I can tell you that Tata Memorial Hospital is a truly world-class facility when it comes to cancer care. And I think I was privileged to work there, more privileged than maybe going to Stanford. And it's a very good example of how in India, you can set up a facility that is on par with, say, MD Anderson or Sloan Kettering. And I have no hesitation in saying this. It's not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration. So my second thing that I want to say is please seek out excellence wherever you are. Look out for kindred souls. Seek out excellence, the people who say that they can get things done. It may be using some jugaad, but they'll get it done, not find objections. And I'll end with something that GK brought up, and that is, the importance of doing research. So research is built into JIPMER's name. Okay, and that I think is a very important part of a medical professional's life today, because if you want to be a prescription practitioner, you could have graduated from anywhere. You're privileged to be in JIPMER, and I think learning how to ask the research question, how to frame it properly, and how to execute the project and get results is a very important part of what you need to learn as medical professionals. And if you ask me the single most important thing that you need to learn during your undergraduation today, I would say it is how to do research, how to carry out a research project. And I have always tried to, engage with students because I believe in catching them young. So if you go to the US, you will see program directors for postgraduate departments like, say, orthopedics, internal medicine, pediatrics, neurosurgery. They will actually start wooing undergraduate medical students from their second year and third year. They'll say, hey, you know what, come to our ORs, watch us operate, come to our lab, see what we do. They want to catch the people who are interested, and they want to catch the best people for their specialties. And that is something I wish would happen in India. It's a little difficult with the kind of entrance exam we have, but it's possible. And so I will say research, research, and research. That is the single most important thing. And if you look at the papers we've published, a couple of your seniors, I'm sure you would have heard of them, Akshat, Subhikshanan, Bhaskar Kannan, they were all students when I wrote papers. I've also written papers with interns. So, you know, there was a guy called Avalpreet Chadha. He's doing his residency in the US. There's also Vikram. Vikram Singh was an intern when we did projects together. There was also a guy called Sanjeev. Sanjeev Srinivasan was an MS General Surgery PG when he did a project with us in neurosurgery. Okay, so it didn't matter what specialty or what stage of career they want. If somebody had a research idea, we could make it happen. And mind you, all of these have been carried to fruition and have been published. It's a question of asking a doable question, creating a project that can be done, gathering a little bit of honest data and putting it out there. So you're not going to win the Nobel Prize, let me assure you. It's very difficult. But you know, the whole field of science is like a mosaic. And if you can find a tiny piece of the puzzle and put it there, even if it's like a micron in size, you're actually adding something to the field of science. And that's the way I look at it. Okay. So I personally feel that all of you who are interested should badger, pester, harangue, and really harass your faculty till they give you research projects. None of my or my students' ICMR projects have been accepted. Okay. Let me make this very, very clear. ICMR has seen fit to reject every project that I have put up. So I don't know if you guys have GJ Strauss now. I think it's discontinued. We had that Golden Jubilee Fund and they were giving grants to students. I didn't get a grant from GJ Strauss either. So all the projects were either unfunded or self-funded, and they all led to data collection and publication. And this is something I feel is very important. And I would request all of y'all to make sure that you incorporate learning how to do research as part of your stay in JIPMER. Otherwise, there is nothing that sets you apart from any other medical graduate, from any other medical school. We have a great medical education department, a PSM department, pharmacology department. They're very dynamic and all of them are research oriented. It would be a tragedy if you don't pick this up. You can ask me questions about how exactly to go about it when you're a student, but I think I've crossed 20 minutes. So I think I should stop here. There were a couple of other things, but nothing so important as what I've already said. So I think I'll stop here and thank you very much for listening to me just ramble on. Thank you. I'm happy to take any comments or questions.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, how are you able to manage your free time like when you're in practice right now?
Okay, so now is different from when I was in JIPMER. When I was in JIPMER, so let me be very practical. When I was in JIPMER, I didn't have a kid. Okay, so it was just me and my wife. So you would often find me in my room in the hospital, which is, in SSB on the second floor. You would find me there till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and that's when I would do my projects. Of course, SSB Annex construction was going on, WCH construction was going on. It was very noisy, but you shut the window, shut the curtains and get down to it. And it's pretty much the same now. My productive hours currently are in the night after my kid sleeps. That's when I have like a couple of hours of silent time. And I take those out and work on my data, work on my papers, and that's when I get stuff done. Of course, on days when you're not operating, not in the clinics, you decide what to devote time to. So it's about finding time for everything. Believe me, 24 hours are enough. If you're a little well organized, 24 hours are enough. You will find time to study every day, do research every day, to play a game every day. There's more than enough time. And not cut down on sleep. I'm not one of these sleep for 4-hour types. I like my sleep. It's just, so what I advise you to do is there are certain things that you have to do. For instance, as a medical student, there are certain non-negotiable items on your daily agenda. Attending classes is one. Preparing for a ward leaving or a test or an exam and reading for your final exams is another. So make a list of the 3 or 4 non-negotiable items on your agenda and find time for those or allocate time for those. Everything else falls into place. So if you're the kind who's interested in research or wants to do research, put that as one of the non-negotiable items on your agenda and fix time for that. Everything else has to squeeze itself in or out, as the case may be. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm sounding like I'm proselytizing, but this is the only way it works.
You're being politically correct.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm being politically correct because if you have to find time for research, if you have to find time to play a game, it means you have to give up time for something else. The
One of
bottom
the
line
things
is,
that I noticed that you could connect with real juniors. Like even when you are faculty, you could connect with first year MBBS students. You call them baby juniors, right?
yeah,
And that's something that is unusual. And I don't know. At that time, mentorship program was it. Even now, it is there. And GJ Strauss is still running.
I was never officially a mentor in the mentorship program. So that's another thing. I've always been outside the official loop of everything. So, yeah. So what were you saying? Sorry.
That's something that's a message for faculty members also, that mentorship is very important in the sense that we can
So, I'm going to say something very politically incorrect now. Many of our kids, when they come in, the babies, so-called baby juniors, they all have stars in their eyes. Their ideas may seem very sharp, very impractical, and very big and grandiose, but I think it's better to give them a sense of what can actually be done than to beat those ideas entirely out of them, which is what a routine medical school curriculum would do. So it's a question of, if it's a question of saying that, I want to go to Pluto by the end of this year. It's a question of saying, okay, hey, Pluto may be a little impractical. Let's see if we can get to the top of that water tank, which is at the end of our campus. Let's see if we can get there safely and come down. That's literally what the faculty have to do, because many of our kids are very enthusiastic about doing research and they would love to do it if they got any mentorship and guidance. And I think a blank slate is always better to write on, is what I feel personally. So I'm sure the students who work with me.
These days, this entrance preparation has percolated down to first year, second year levels. Do you think that is impairing all this?
Yes, I would absolutely agree, because I know that there's an entrance exam, which is one of the worst possible ways to select someone for a PG course, but there may be no other way. But I would very strongly suggest that you don't miss out on the experiences that MBBS has to offer, and you sit for a year and read if need be. I sat for a year. I finished my internship in January of 2022, sorry, because I had a month extension in PSM, believe it or not. But I finished that extension and then I sat till the next year and prepared for NIMHANS. It's not like I got in the same year. And I don't regret it, because in my internship, I worked now that I've said it this way, I might as well complete it. I worked my ass off and I enjoyed it. I'll tell you another experience that I'm very, very proud of. This is something I drop every opportunity that I can get. I remember when I was posted in OG, there was a national conference that happened. And so most of the PGs had to go for that. I was posted in Unit 3, which at that time was Dr. Reddy Rani's unit. Dr. Reddy Rani and Dr. Reena were together. And most of the PGs and Dr. Reena were going for the national conference. So there was literally one PG who was left to man the OBS ward, and there was no PG left to man the gynae ward. And onto my broad shoulders fell the responsibility of managing the gynae ward. And I can tell you, I had a whale of a time. You take care of the admissions, you work the patients up, you get them ready, bring them for the PVs on the pre-OT day, write down what the plan is, vaginal or trans-abdominal. And I never felt so important in my life. And for a while, I actually considered doing OG. I went back to my first love, but I never regret that time that I spent in internship, personally. I feel it's perfectly fine to sit for a year and prepare, but please don't miss out on the experiences that MBBS in internship has to offer. It's a big mistake. I knew tracheostomies when I came to NIMHANS, by the way. I somehow had managed to do 2 or 3 tracheostomies when I was an intern in JIPMER, just by hanging around all night, nothing else. Yeah, so. Yeah,
Sir, the organizing team has a batch photograph which we'd like to share.
Okay.
So any of sir's batchmates or the audience can take it up as a challenge to recognize the photo.
Yeah.
Can we please have the photo, Karthik?
We'll have to zoom that in a lot more than that.
Is it visible?
Yeah.
Zoom in, but yeah, I mean, can zoom in and scroll from side to side. Yeah. Many of the people who are there are here. I mean, Seema is here, Sivaraman is here.
Yeah.
And Varun is here, Amit Verma is here.
Venki's face is half seen now.
Okay, sir.
Gone away.
Oh, it's fully seen.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, Madhavi Lata is here. So many people from the photograph are actually here. And for a batch that was better known for its skits and adzaps, I think Basu sir will remember. No, we were better known for our skits and adzaps thanks to Parthasarathi.
Sirisha is also there.
Huh? Sorry?
Venkatesh?
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Sirisha is there.
Yeah, Sirisha also.
Sirisha, I'm Lata here. Sirisha is there.
Yeah. So I think.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
When you said Madhvi Lata, I looked for Sirisha.
Okay, okay.
I'm fine, fine. Actually, I'm driving.
Oh, okay. Ma'am, carefully. So I don't know, I'm going to brag about my batch a little bit. So all of us, I think, have done reasonably well, but some of us, so I told you about one guy who married Dr. Srinivasan's daughter. I think he was one of the first people from JIPMER to get the first rank in the AIMS entrance in the first attempt that year when he wrote the exam. So that was something we were all very proud of. He of course did radiology. He's now at Yale University. And I'm very proud of, I mean, all of them have done very well. My very dear friend Chandru, he's a pediatric neurosurgeon in Glasgow, Edinburgh, in Edinburgh. And we keep in touch. And so, you know, there are a lot of people in my batch who have all struck out in different ways. So, you know, you name it, public health, anesthesia, talk about any branch. Okay. Anesthesia, we have people who are in Cleveland Clinic now, and we have people who've trained in Harvard. And so, you know, I can drop names like that. So for a batch that did a lot of skit and AdZap and things like that, I don't think we've done too badly when it comes to, you know, professional life at the end of the day. And I think that's a lesson which you guys should take away. There's no point in keeping your noses buried to your books. I'm sorry if that's not what the teachers want me to say. Yeah, okay.
So let's move on with a few questions which we prepared, like from the side of the organizing team. So you said you